My first appointment in Kenya was to the very well-established mission called Nyahururu in the diocese of Kisii. And I was very lucky that my first bishop there was the later Cardinal Maurice Otunga, who welcomed me to the diocese. He then, very soon afterwards, he was transferred to Nairobi. And in that mission there, the parish priest was an elderly man. We had there the first Catholic to be baptized was in the year 1913. But then the beginning of the mission in Nyahururu and in Kisii as a whole was in the year 1911. So as I speak now, this year we will be able to celebrate 110 years of Catholic mission there in Nyahururu and in the whole of Kisii. My parish priest there, an elderly Dutch missionary, gave me full support, but then he didn't know Kisii, the language, very well, so I had to pick up the language from people around about, especially from children. At that time there was no Bible even in that language. There was practically no book written in that language, and you had to pick up the language from people around you with whom you are conversing. My greatest joy was when Father Wyden was his name, asked me to take over a certain area in Nyahururu mission. He gave me a full chance to do whatever I wanted and whatever I could. So first of all, I went round to all the schools. And the schools, there were many of them, I could say, Mass in the school compound. We could hear their confessions. I could also teach them religion. So it was a very fulfilling time there in the schools. And then catechumenate the students during all the holiday times. They would come to different centers, to the mission itself and to other outstations, and there about 5 days every week during the holiday time, the catechist was going to teach them. And after 1 year then, we could baptize many of them. My other joy was that I could then go from doing house visiting. I went systematically from house to house within the area, huge big area. We had a catechist or a leader who took me along, so we went on foot right from house to house, found the people in their situation, talked with them, and we got very, very many people for the Catholic Church. It was at that time actually that on one occasion we blessed 110 weddings on one day in one compound. It was a very, very big feast. But also many of them were on the same day also baptized. I also went out and to different outstations and stayed there a few days so that I didn't have to come back. And from there, again, people were looking after me, they cooked for me, and then we walked around and were very much welcomed by the people. Were very happy to see a Catholic priest. I stayed there for about almost 3 years, but then I had an accident, and then I had to go home for healing, and I came back, and then I was posted to a different tribe. I was, at that time, Kisii diocese was also reaching to Homer Bay diocese. So the bishop of Kisii, he was in charge of Kisii, of South Nyanza, and then also of the Kuria people in the Savannah area. So I was then sent at that time to learn first the Luo language. So I stayed there with an old missionary and learned there for about 2 months. And then they sent me to the very first Luo Catholic priest. It is Father Gabriel Atieno. He did his education, his seminary training in Uganda. At that time, there was in Kenya no major seminary yet. So he was already an elderly priest, very kind priest. And so I could stay with him, but he was old. And again, he gave me all the chances to go anywhere I wanted to go. And it was very beautiful because I could reach right down to the Lake Victoria. I could even, on one day, I had to baptize many people. Another day, I had a chance even, or I was forced in a way, to give confirmation to a big group of people there because the bishop had forgotten and he didn't come, and we waited and waited and waited, and then I made the decision, let me also give them the confirmation and then inform the bishop afterwards, and the bishop was very happy that I did so. I stayed there only for 1 year with the Lua people. The parish was called Mirogi. And from there I was transferred to a different mission in that area, Asumbi, helped out there until the parish priest was then sent home because he was an old man, Father van der Bos. And then somebody else took over. I could go now on Christmas Day. I made my first holiday on the Pwani in Mombasa. A very famous missionary, Ferdinand Pent, who is practically the initiator of the missions in Kilgoris and also in Kaplong. So he started a mission in Kaplong with the Kipsigis, and he started a mission in Kilgoris with the Maasai people. So this man, he was now retiring a bit to his own old parish in Kilgoris, and then he asked me, couldn't I go with him to Mombasa? Then he could do some fishing there, and we could relax for a while. And then he whispered to me, but I know after we come back, you will have to take over the parish in Nyebruru. And that's what happened. When I came back from holiday in Mombasa, then the letter was there from the bishop. I should take over now Nyebruru parish. I stayed there then about 11 years. Formerly it was 3 years, already 3 years there, and then another 11 years, I think, and then I was transferred to a different parish. But it was a very beautiful time there in Nyebruru, and then later on in Amagwa, and then later on in Gekano. In all these 3 missions, we could do a lot of evangelization. A lot. Especially we had so many catechists who were helping us. We trained them, we sent them for training here and there. In some places even the wife of the catechist came along for 2 years training. So hand in hand then with the catechists we could evangelize very well. And then we built many churches, outstations. In the beginning, actually, people were expected to come to the main parish. But then you could also see that it's impossible, the distance is there, the children are in school. So everywhere we started to build outstation churches. And the first who did that was Father Kisii. Father Kisii was the very first one that I can remember, who built very small structures really, but without wall, just a roof. Some pillars were carrying the roof, and so people could be in that little building. So those churches we took over then later on myself also, and then we built the permanent churches almost everywhere. Now after I've left, then people in that area continue to building a lot there. The church has really matured now in these last years.